Hi, this is a video on how to make a concept map for this biology course. So you may have done it slightly different in another course, or maybe this is your first time. So I wanted to address some questions that have come up and illustrate with an example. So for this course, just to define the term, a concept map is a visual representation of how concepts are connected. So you're mapping together like you would have, buildings or different parts of a city, linking them with streets that connect them. It is a way to go from one to the other. So in this course, you need a minimum of one concept per chapter section. Now, some chapters are just going to have 3 sections, and so that means you basically have many more per section, but you need a minimum of 1. So even if it's a short section, try to pull something out of there, at least one concept, and tie it into the rest of the material. So a total of 15 concepts. And in the directions and the instructions, I had listed 15 major and 10 minor. And this gets a little confusing. So I'm pretty loose in grading this, just 15 concepts total, really sort of heavy hitting concepts, maybe in bigger circles, and then the smaller concepts in smaller circles. But concepts generally, the way that I do it, are in circles. You can use squares or something, and then you link them together. So you've got concept A, so concept A over here, concept B over here, and this line needs to have a linking phrase with it. And so you might say, like, concept A results in, right? Results, R-E-S-U-L-T-S, results in concept B. So you might say, evolution by natural selection, results in speciation, right? It can, not always. So you could put results in, or you may say can, maybe to be more accurate, can result in speciation. So something like that. Let me go through. What I did is, I pulled out from Biology 2E, which is an online open source textbook that's used in Bio 182, Bio 181, Bio 105, and some in Bio 100, just as a small reference. So chapter 47. So I went to the back after, going through the chapter, and I was looking at the chapter summary, and I pulled out, in my own words, what I thought were some key concepts. So I made this list first, and I find that, making a list of the concepts quickly then really helps to guide the actual diagram of the concept map, and then it kind of falls into place. So, and you have your notes. So you have your notes that you've written, gone through the chapters, and you can go through those and then see what you have in your notes and really tie it together. So this is a way to synthesize, to put together what can often be, when learning biology, these different concepts that are hard to link. And the way that learning works, a lot of learning theory, is the more that you can make a web or a framework for the knowledge that you have, the facts that you have, the better it's going to stick in the short term for, exams or chapter quizzes. And, the long term, be that the final exam or even a couple years from now, you have this image, this picture, and our brain is like a sponge. Remember, a picture, you've heard that phrase, is like 1,000 words. And I really believe that that's true. If you can have some sort of a framework to come back, I'm very visually driven. And so if I can remember a concept map on an exam or something, that really helps me to pull out that information. So, some of the things I went through, this chapter is on conservation, biology, and biodiversity. And so, I just went through, I'll read a couple here. So biodiversity is measured by species, genetic diversity, chemical diversity, and ecosystem diversity. So those are all ways that you can measure biodiversity. Then I've got, the number of species that are known and estimated, how biodiversity changes with latitude. You can go through this. I'll post this example as well. This PowerPoint. So I think I made a slide. Yeah, so here I made a slide, and I just wanted to start with the first section. So for the first section, and then I can tie it in, I'm going to use biodiversity, right? Biodiversity is in our chapter title. And so often, you're going to have a concept that is in the title. That's always a good place to start. So the title of the chapter. So I'm going to go biodiversity. And you can do these diversity by hand. So like I'm just writing it out here. You can do it on a program like this in PowerPoint or using the whiteboard in Zoom, or you can do it by hand on a piece of paper. I like to do things by hand on a piece of paper with pencil and I can erase, and I have students that, use highlighters, and it's really nice. It's whatever your learning style is, whereas other people are very, they like the same uniform size of the circle. So I'm going to use a program where I just like copy and paste this circle, and then I do that. So whatever suits you, I just need to have record that you've got those 15 concepts with the linking terms. So let's see, biodiversity. So I could say, can be measured by, right? And then I've got this arrow going this way. So, and then in here, I've actually got a fair amount. So I could put I could make this go to like all of these concepts and break those out. I mean, there's definitely a lot of material here, but I'm just going to put these into one sort of sub-concept here. So they could be measured by all these things. So by, the amount of species that are in a given area, by the genetic diversity. So, right, is there tons of different alleles, or is it like a cheetah population where they're all really related? Chemical diversity, right? How many different compounds and pharmaceuticals, especially if you're looking at, trying to do research into that field. You could look at ecosystem diversity, right? So just looking, especially if you're, out at the biome scale. So what's happening? What are the different factors? Let's see. So, and then you say biodiversity. Oh, I know. So then over here, right, we had species. And so, gosh, I could actually pull that out. I'm not following a great framework, but I'm happy if you guys do this. So actually, I just want to look at the species here, and I'm going to say for the species that there are estimated number of species, and then I'm going to put here 10 million, right? Because I think that's interesting. I think it's kind of interesting if we're talking about species diversity to kind of have an idea of, well, how many actually are there? What are we talking about? 1,000, a million, a billion? Okay, so I've got that. And then over here, so biodiversity decreases as latitude increases. So I'm going to say decreases with, and then I'm going to put here latitude, right? Latitude. So as you move away from the equator towards 90 degrees north or south, you're going to get less and less biodiversity, right? Less energy input from the sun, and less heat, less temperature equals less life. Let's see, 5 mass extinctions with over 50%. So I would say biodiversity. Let's see, how would I relate this to 5 mass extinctions? So biodiversity experiences, there's lots of words you could use here. A dramatic, or you could say significant, but significant is hard because it's often in science, you don't want to use the word significance unless you're talking about statistics. So biodiversity experiences dramatic reduction periodically, right? Periodically. Due to, and then I'm going to put, so here's like, this is probably not intuitive. A lot of the examples you'll see online, the linking terms are like, it's just like a word or two, which is fine. But I find that, if you're going to go back and study, it's helpful to actually have the context. And if I need to write it out, then I'm going to write out several words. So biodiversity experiences dramatic reductions periodically due to, and then I'm going to say extinction events or extinction. Events, right? And then if I wanted to, I could say, okay, there was 5 and talk about those. And let's see, currently there's 500 times higher. So we're currently in an extinction event. And I could even say an extinction events, one is occurring now, occurring today. And I don't remember, actually don't know if the book names it, but it's called the Anthropocene. Anthropocene. And it's basically a human caused extinction event. And so, or maybe, so anyway, you get the idea here, and you can go through, I tried to write big so you could see it. Sorry about the, it's like childlike writing, but then if you're writing on a paper, you could, connect it to another page. Let's see if I could, what I'm going to do is just go to the next one and just talk about, so really I did an elaborate, first section here. And so you only need to have 15 concepts total. So I've got biodiversity, latitude, I got these concepts of how to measure speciation, extinction events. And so now I go to the next one, medicines commonly. So this is talking about why is it important? So like from that biodiversity concept, I'm just pretending that I'm linking it to the one on the previous page. I could say is important, right? Because, right? Why do we care, right? Why do we care to learn about this? And then you've got some options here. And here's an example of where you could use that same phrase for multiple ideas. So you could put it all in one, or you could put it here and go, okay, medicine. You could do crop diversity, which is basically food security, diversity. So the more biodiversity we have, the less likely we are going to experience a plague that comes through and attacks the one variety of bananas that we have, and now we have no bananas. And then you might say over here, ecosystem services. And ecosystem services is kind of interesting, and you could break that out, kind of thinking, okay, well, what is ecosystem services? These actually include, ways that the ecosystem is providing a benefit to humans. So ecosystem services, include, and then you could list out these here, right? Pollination, nutrient cycling, and kind of you get the idea, right? So it's really up to you if you're going to split something out, if you think it's big enough concept that you want to split it out and then go into it in more detail, or you could include several in one circle, sort of like here. And then, over harvesting of marine organisms threatens food security. So you could say biodiversity, and I might say is threatened by over harvesting. Okay. All right. So then you can look back visually without having to read all of your notes, hopefully, and you can see, oh, all right, I get it. I can see the main ideas. And, if you need to use a couple pages, that's fine. Some people write really large, like this is obviously very large, or you could write small on a page. Just make sure you meet those minimum requirements. And then for each, like for the next one, there's 4 sections in this chapter. Population growth are the primary threats to biodiversity. And so I could actually go back here and go, biodiversity was threatened by overharvesting, right? But also it's threatened by overpopulation or human, I'll just say human population, right? And I'm using the same word, threatened by. So biodiversity is threatened by human population because we're exceeding our carrying capacity, preserving biodiversity. So how could we do that? Well, one of the ways is to, barcode species. So basically make a very thorough list of all the species that we do have. We can have international treaties. Thank goodness we're back in the Paris Accord, right? We've rejoined the climate agreement, so we can help that. So we stop that driver. So you could come back and go like biodiversity is threatened by these things. And then last chapter is biodiversity is protected. Protected by, or you could say, supported by, and then over here you could have, some ideas on that, like, education, concepts from that previous part, treaties, international agreements, DNA barcoding, right? Barcoding. Okay, so anyway, this is a overview, hopefully, that it gives you a good idea about what's needed. But between every single concept, this is what's important. Make sure, so between the concept here, I'm just gonna color the concepts. Often students will color the concepts a different color, which is helpful. It's not necessary. Like if you just have pencil, that's fine. Let me get a brighter color. So my concepts are here. So biodiversity, and then I've got, here's my concepts. You get it, right? Circles. And then every concept is connected by, this is what I want to emphasize, a linking phrase. You could use in some cases like a single word like include, but you can have a phrase, or almost like if we look at that previous one, almost like a full sentence is fine, right? If you really need that to clearly and explicitly connect them, that's fine. So anyway, good luck and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.